What is something crazy that your neighbor has done? My neighbor Gary moved in next door about 2 years ago. Seemed like a normal guy at first. Middle-aged, quiet, worked from home doing something with computers. We'd wave at each other when getting the mail. Typical neighbor stuff. But after about 6 months, I started noticing weird things happening in his backyard. First, it was the digging. Every weekend, Gary would be out there with a shovel, digging holes all over his yard. Not like he was planting trees or flowers, just random holes, maybe 3 feet deep, scattered everywhere. Then he'd fill them back up the next day. I figured maybe he was looking for a water line or something. But this went on for months. Dig holes on Saturday, fill them on Sunday. His yard looked like a minefield. Then came the mirrors. Gary started installing mirrors everywhere on his property. Not normal decorative mirrors. We're talking huge industrial-sized mirrors mounted on poles all around his house. His backyard looked like a funhouse. When the sun hit them just right, the glare would bounce into everyone's windows on the block. Mrs. Patterson across the street had to buy blackout curtains because the reflection was so bright it was like having a spotlight aimed at her living room. But Gary wasn't done. Next, he installed motion-activated speakers throughout his yard. At first, I thought it was some kind of security system, but these speakers didn't play alarm sounds or warnings. They played dolphin noises. I'm talking full-volume dolphin clicks, squeaks, and whale songs. Every time a squirrel ran across his yard or a bird landed on his fence, it triggered this underwater symphony. The whole neighborhood sounded like SeaWorld 24 hours a day. When I finally worked up the courage to ask Gary about it, he told me he was creating an acoustic barrier to protect against electromagnetic interference from government surveillance satellites. Apparently, he believed dolphins could communicate on frequencies that scrambled spy equipment. I just nodded and backed away slowly. Things escalated when Gary started the midnight landscaping. I'd wake up at 2 in the morning to the sound of a lawnmower running in his backyard. Not just mowing grass. He was cutting patterns into his lawn. Geometric shapes, spirals, symbols I couldn't identify. By morning, his yard would look normal again. He'd apparently been cutting the grass at different lengths to create invisible patterns that could only be seen from certain angles or in specific lighting. The homeowners association sent him multiple letters. Gary responded by installing a 40-foot flagpole in his front yard and flying a custom flag that looked like a psychedelic version of nautical signal flags. He told the mailman it was a communication beacon for underwater civilizations. But here's where it gets really crazy. Last summer, Gary started hosting what he called meditation gatherings in his backyard every Thursday night. About 15 people would show up, all wearing matching silver jumpsuits. They'd sit in a circle around one of Gary's mirrors, humming in unison while the dolphin speakers played in the background. These sessions would last for hours. The humming would get louder and louder until it echoed through the whole neighborhood. My dog would howl along, which seemed to encourage them to hum even louder. One night, I was curious enough to peek over the fence. The group was sitting perfectly still, eyes closed, humming this haunting melody while staring at their reflection in the mirror. Gary was in the center wearing some kind of metallic headband and moving his hands like he was conducting an invisible orchestra. It was either deeply spiritual or completely unhinged. I honestly couldn't tell which. The breaking point came during the December snowstorm. While everyone else was shoveling their driveways, Gary was out in his backyard at midnight, completely naked, rolling around in the snow while playing what sounded like whale songs on a boombox. When the police showed up, Gary calmly explained that he was conducting a thermal meditation ritual to align his body temperature with the natural rhythm of marine mammals. The officer just stared at him for a long moment, then told him to put some clothes on and go inside. 2 weeks later, Gary's house went up for sale. No explanation, no goodbye. He just disappeared one night, leaving behind the mirrors, the speakers still playing dolphin sounds, and a yard full of mysterious patterns that were only visible when the morning dew hit the grass just right. The new owners, the Williams family, spent 3 months undoing all of Gary's modifications. They removed the mirrors, disconnected the speakers, and filled in all the remaining holes in the backyard. But sometimes, on quiet Thursday nights, I swear I can still hear faint humming coming from that direction, like Gary's meditation group left some kind of spiritual residue in the neighborhood. The Williams family seems nice enough, but I've noticed they get a lot of mail addressed to the Dolphin Communication Research Institute. I'm starting to think Gary might still be around somewhere, just operating under a different name. Either that or his whole underwater civilization theory was more convincing than any of us realized, and the new neighbors are continuing his work in secret. All I know is that every time I hear a dolphin documentary on TV now, I automatically look toward Gary's old house and wonder what he's up to these days.